Hey everybody, I'm back, kind of. I haven't had a lot of free time, what with school and all. I'm trying to finish up, but I finally got my hands on some better editing software. So I am going to attempt to edit some more Let's Plays and actually put them up. But the Persona 5 trailer, the gameplay trailer, just dropped, and it's our first more intimate look at the game. So I really wanted to make an analysis video of it and to sort of pick it apart, show what's in the trailer, what we might be able to tell about the rest of the game from it. So let's just let's go through and see what can be gleaned from it. Of course, here's the Atlas logo. It looks a little different than usual. It looks a little more static. And helicopters. So from what we can see, this seems a lot more colorful than before, and we've got scary FBI agents. Here's our main character. I don't know what that says. So there's our main character. He looks a little bit like if you put the Persona 4 and Persona 3 protagonists together. And this mask, I'm gonna talk about this mask a little later. He jumps out stained glass window, looks very heroic, and bam. He has a red right hand, and that I just want to put this theory out first, because I'm going to discuss it throughout this analysis, but I really do think that our protagonists are going to be thieves in our new, in this new game, because, of course you were just members of the super secret awesome, club. In 3, in 4 you were, investigating a murder. In 5, I think, your little group of friends are going to be Mission Impossible style thieves trying to get stuff. And bam, bright light. So, P Studio. Red. Red is our main color motif for this game. And we're introduced to all our secondary characters via flybys during the credits. So there's our main character. Here's something important. These two right here. These two are our new Velvet Room attendants. Because, in the next shot, we've got Igor. There he is. Looking just as creepy as ever, Igor. One thing I wanted to discuss very briefly. One, these are successors to Margaret and Elizabeth and all of them. And Theodore, of course. There's 2 of them now, and I think they're they may be a boy and a girl. I'm not certain. One of them has a braid, the other one has a bun. They may both be girls. But, as you'll see in a later shot, that's not stylistic shadowing. They actually both have eye patches on. So that's kind of interesting. I think they might be 2 halves of the same person kind of thing going on. Dunno. But there is something interesting. Igor is back. And I don't know if they're going to get a new voice for Igor. Because some of you may or may not know this, but the Japanese voice of Igor passed away, and that incidentally is why Igor didn't speak very much in the Persona 4 anime, because they actually just recycled all his lines from the game. That's why Margaret talked so much more. So, it's interesting to see what's going to be up with Igor. And here's this big incident. A lot of this, and maybe I'll catch some flack for this comparison, but this urban center big disaster that no one seems to notice. I mean, obviously it's a Persona game, so no one ever notices, but the urban setting of this game, because Persona 3 was on its own little island, so it was urban, but in a different way. Persona 4 was very rural. You were out in the suburbs in the middle of nowhere. The urban feel of this game, maybe it's just a byproduct of, its similar Japanese stuff, but it reminds me of The World Ends With You a lot. Well, probably because it appears to be taking place right in the middle of Tokyo. So we've got our big flappy bird man. I do not know what this is. It looks like he might have a top hat on, I don't know. This is probably a persona of some kind. And this looks to be maybe some kind of inciting incident that brings our protagonists together and brings them into the Otherworld. Who knows? And here's a logo, Persona 5. So, here we are. It's our look at our transit. You know, we used to in Persona 4, we all traveled to school together, and we gotta look at the day. It's Monday, it is April 11th, and I looked this up. That means that this game takes place in 2016 at the earliest. And it's cloudy, so weather's back, although I'm not sure what part it'll play. Weather, of course, played a very important part on who was available when and how much time you had to save people in for. So I don't know what's up. Interesting, we're on a commuter train. There's all sorts of people. And interesting to note, all the other people are faceless, which I think maybe they just didn't want to model faces for everybody, but everybody here looks, it's kind of depressing. It's kind of, whatever. And, whoa, something's going on the train. Here you can see our protagonist. He's got a black blazer jacket on, but then he's got black, white, and red plaid pants, which is a very interesting stylistic choice, in my opinion. I kind of like it. And here we have the immortal classroom scene. Our protagonist gazes drearily out the window, wondering about things, and boom! Chalk to the head. I have never had hot chalk hit that hard, and I've never had chalk thrown at me by a teacher, but then again, I don't live in apparently anime Japan, where apparently that doesn't even happen in actual Japan. That happens in shows. And also in the shop, before we get our first look at what appears to be our main female protagonist, our person who's going to replace Chie and Yukari from the previous games. We're going to get better looks at them. Okay, I want to pause here for a moment because I do want to discuss something that I think is kind of interesting. Between both of our side characters being blonde, I'm nicknaming this guy Blonde Junpei because he reminds me a little bit of a cross between Junpei and Kanji. And our other person, the girl, I'm going to call her Blonde Rise because that's who she reminds me of with her pigtails. It feels like our main characters might be delinquents, like they might not, follow all the rules. I mean, of course you didn't follow all the rules in the previous games, but, you were good kids. It feels like our main characters this time might not be good kids. That's just my take on it. But also, the environments, everything around the game feels much more vibrant. We've got all these people walking in the background. You've got a much richer city scene. This is just the product of, I think, the game having more room to breathe. On the PS4, rather than you can find to the PS2, you can put all these characters in the background, you can have these massive environments. It feels a little bit like Catherine in that way. And here we have this shot. So, obviously, the main intention is what the hell is that thing on the table? If we look, in the previous shot, there's actually a cat on the railing that looks to be our fourth party member that we see. We can catch hints of a fifth party member if we look in some of the interstitial shots. But yeah, for the focus of this trailer, its protagonists are two blonde party members and the cat. And the cat is obviously probably going to fulfill some similar role. I mean, it could be similar to Teddy. The cat could be from the Otherworld, and that's how it's, talking. But also, it's possible that the cat is something more similar to Koromaru from Persona 3, where it's a cat. But it appears to be talking to people here, so I'm going to err on the side of more like Teddy than Koromaru. And what's on the table, I mean, I play D&D, and that looks an awful lot like a D&D map to me, but it could be a map of the Otherworld or something else they're planning. The more to look at it, the less it looks like anything specific, so... And here we get to see our protagonists dancing. Dancing. And they all look very stylish. I do like the style of this game, even if I don't quite agree with the color scheme of all red. And bam. Don't look at me like that. Here is what appears to be our pause menu. I don't know. This could be part of the battle. This could be part of the pause menu. We can see our health and mana meters in the corner there. and skill item equip persona party cooperation mission system. So yeah, this seems to be a bit more of a pause menu because there's a system and a mission. And I definitely like the styling. The sort of, it almost, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the like old cartoon ransom notes that were cut out of bits of magazines. Sort of reminds me of that. And what's interesting is it goes down to equip. Here we are, equip. Weapon, gun, protector, accessory, clothes. It's very interesting, and I think very telling to me that there is a weapon and a gun slot. That those are separate somehow. I don't want to try and pick apart, like, because the Japanese relation to guns is very different than what we have in the West. But I just want to draw attention to that because that seems very interesting. And our protagonist's main weapon is apparently knives of some kind, which is a far cry from Persona 3 and Persona 4's swords that they had. It makes it feel a little bit more urbane, a little bit more realistic, I feel, than the old whacking people with giant Vulcan swords and baseball bats and all that. It's still good. It's a Persona game. It's still going to be a little cartoony, but it definitely brings it a little bit more of a realistic feel. Okay. This guy's creepy, let me just say that right off the bat. And I'm noticing he appears to have something coming out of his mouth, whether it's like drool or some kind of wire. I don't know what's happening here, because when we zoom in, his eyes are, it was being like cyber hacked, like Ghost in the Shell. And then he causes his train to crash, so that's fun. And so that's definitely going to be like an important goings on. Like, this is going to be like, I think this is probably something similar to the murders or apathy syndrome. You know, the murders in 4, apathy syndrome in 3, some kind of, real world effects of whatever supernatural goings on are racking the Otherworld. And we get to see in-game gameplay. So I'm going to pause here because we get to see a few things. One, enemies. They appear to be knights in armor, and we appear to be in some kind of mansion. It reminds me vaguely of Yukari's. No, that's not her name. Yuko, yes, Yuko. Yuko's mansion in 4. And if we advance to the next shot, like, there's something like the ground like ripples under our protagonist's feet if you look. And it appears like the sneaking across the chandelier further reinforces that our main protagonists might be sneaky people, maybe not thieves, but definitely it's interesting. Also, if you can look at it, our main character is much more realistically proportioned than the sort of the in-game model of Persona 3 and Persona 4's protagonists. But the next shot is something I really want to talk about. This shot right here. This is very interesting to me because you can see our protagonist is like teleporting from cover to cover. I do not think that there is any kind of cover-based shooter mechanic here, just to put that one out in front. But it does further enforce the sneaking theme that maybe going straight up into every fight isn't the best in this game. For those who didn't play that much of them, Persona 3 and Persona 4 had pretty standard JRPG combat of wander around, get into fights, was the overworld mechanics, and maybe that may change in this game. We don't really know. We haven't seen enough, but it certainly feels very like sneaking and being careful and not being seen might be greater benefits in this game. Okay, the Takemi Medical Clinic. Her name is like Takemi Kae or something. This is our nurse. She's got some really nice platform stiletto boots there, and she is probably going to be the person who sells us all of our medicine and healing items. And then some animated protagonists. Listen to me. Animated cutscenes. So we can see our two side characters goofing off there, and cut into here. We get our first good look at our protagonist's Otherworld selves. So you can see sort of a black coat, and interesting, they have masks on. They have masks, but they don't have them on. They're sort of on the top of their heads. So maybe this is like, maybe when they enter the Otherworld, it's some sort of involuntary transformation, and they haven't really accepted it yet, which is why the masks aren't on. That could definitely lead it, because also our cat friend isn't in his Otherworld form. So I don't know, like there's a lot of different conclusions you could draw from here. But we also can look at our protagonists' different outfits. We've got a nice long coat for our main character. We've got the blonde Junpei over here. His outfit kind of reminds me of like a flight suit, maybe like a really old aviation suit, or maybe like a motorcycle outfit. I don't know. Yeah, I like the scarf. And, of course, our main female character has skin-tight red leather with a boob window. Oh, Japan. The Munitia Iwa military shop. Untouchable. So this will be... Are those geckos? Those are geckos. There's a lot of interesting art assets here. So this is where we're going to buy all of our weapons. So also, this guy's not smoking a cigarette, he has a lollipop. So, there's an icon here for blade, gun, and what I assume is our protector and accessory. I assume we'll go to some kind of clothing store for clothes, which, again, reminds me of The World Ends With You. So here, maybe, looking at this again, maybe our main character doesn't use knives. Maybe in some way, like, the knife just represents your primary weapon, as opposed to, gun. So that could be very interesting indeed. Okay, here's another really important shot that we gotta pause for a while on. Right here. So if we look right here, now that we're back on track, after a slight disaster, we can see what appears to be our protagonist. At first I thought it was Vincent from Catherine, but now they just look kind of similar. He's chained up, he's got classic prisoner garb, and he's got chains and bars and all that. And, very importantly, Igor's twins are apparently standing guard. Their outfits, because previously the Velvet Room was an elevator, and then it was a limo, and now might it be a prison? Who knows? The uniforms of the attendants to the Velvet Room always looked very professional, but they could be like, Joe's driver cabs could very well be prison guard uniforms. This might have to do with how our protagonists gain persona powers, but it might have to do with how, you are a slave, want emancipation, that whole thing. But it certainly is an interesting thing to consider. And here we are. Protagonist in battle form. We get our first full look at the battle screen, and we can see, one, he has a gun, he's gonna shoot somebody, and we can see our protagonist, blonde Junpei, Cat, and blonde Rise. Bang, bang, bang. And also, here's this slow down to turn to gray. We can see, if we looked at our they appear like blonde Junpei over here appears to be firing a shotgun of some kind, so that's very interesting. Also, Jack Frost, and not much new here. Like, there's new models for them, but these are shadows and enemies that we've seen a lot before. But the interesting thing is, those are personas you normally summon, and now we're fighting them as enemies. So it could be very interesting to see where the enemies are drawn from, if they're drawn from more Shin Megami Tensei sources or what. Also, so here is blonde Rise. She's got her little fox mask on, and this slowdown, and blonde Junpei has a metal pipe, which makes him feel a little bit more like Kanji to me. This slowdown turned to gray. This looks like our new all-out attack. These very stylish portraits. Bam, 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 bam. And we end with more dancing. I'm not gonna put anything against more dancing. More dancing's cool. Persona 5. There's one last shot that I do want to discuss here, and it's this one. So, the way that this, because this at first glance, this shot looks like Shadows from Persona 4. He's got yellow eyes. He is appearing to turn into some kind of, terrible monster with the emphasis on the mask that the player wears. So it feels a little bit like, if we draw our conclusion from this, that our protagonist's otherworld forms may in fact be their persona. Like, it's no longer you summon your persona, it's you sort of become your persona. But I really for some reason I'm doubtful that, because Shadows are of course in every Persona game, but the specific Shadows of 4, where it's your darkest self, your darkest desires, your other self manifests into something that manifests into another form. I don't think that's gonna be in 5. I just call it a hunch. For something very specific to 4, I don't feel like it's going to be carried over into the next game, but it might. Who knows? This could be some kind of super mode, for all we know. And that's the Persona 5 trailer. So, just leave your comments with what you think, what you think I'm right about, what you think I'm completely wrong about, and that I should stop talking about video games forever. Give me your feedback, and please subscribe. Thanks. I'll see you guys another time.